I have with me Anthony Scaramucci. He is a financier, political consultant, and former White House Director of Communication. And I want to talk to him about different things. Anthony, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Well, I mean, Jesse, you remember how we met, right?
No, remind me.
You were coming at me on Twitter, so I sent you a direct message and said, "Invite me on the show."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you were firing missiles at me.
I call you Beta, huh?
I can't remember what you called me. That's all right. I never take any of this stuff that seriously, but
Good.
and I looked into you and your life. I said, all right, this guy has got some soulful mojo, and I invited myself on your show, and you accepted my invitation. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for coming on. So I need to know more about you. I don't know you that well. Are you a Christian?
Oh yeah, well I'm Roman Catholic. I got raised Roman Catholic, and so I still, if you're asking me, am I still a Christian or have I been secularized? No, I'm still a Christian.
And what does
I
it
haven't been to church in the last 6 months, primarily from the COVID-19, but I do go to church, and my 5 children, the older ones have all been baptized and gone to communion and confirmation and so forth.
right on? And what does it mean to you, Anthony, to be a Christian? What does that mean to you? Or a Catholic, which is the same thing.
I don't want to oversimplify it. I think you either have to, first of all, you can adopt Christian philosophy and not accept the resurrection, or you can accept the resurrection and adopt Christian philosophy. And those, in my opinion, are two very different things. And so I'm in the latter category where I accept the resurrection. And I believe in the resurrection of Christ. And so therefore, I think it's a little bit more fundamental and a little bit more ingrained in terms of what I want to do with my life philosophically.
Are you married?
I am married, yes.
And are you the head of your wife?
Am I what?
The head of your wife.
Well, I mean, am I her boss? Is that what you mean?
No, are you the head of your wife?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what that means, Jess. So when you say, am I the head of my wife? I'm not her boss. I mean, we have a great partnership. But I mean, we have a lot of mutuality of respect. I mean, there's no political correctness in our relationship, if you mean that. I think we probably have pretty much traditional roles in terms of our marriage.
Well, Christian men, those who've been a believer, truly believe in God, if they're married, they are the head of their wives, as Christ is the head of them, and they lead their wives and children in the right way to go, because women need men to lead them as men need Christ. Do you agree with that?
Well, I mean, I'm Catholic, so I mean that may be evangelical Christian stuff. That's not in the teachings of the Catholic Church.
Oh, okay. So being a Catholic is different than being a Christian?
Well, no. I mean, again, they're both in the theology of Christ, and if you remember, the Catholic Church is the original church. I mean, that was founded by Saint Peter, who was the first pope, and then the sects of Christianity sort of splintered out. The evangelical Christian community is ultimately is a derivation of the Greek Orthodox Church and the Roman Catholic Church. If you really study early Christian theology, you've got the early Christians in Egypt, and you've got the early Christians in Lebanon, and then you have the diaspora, which led to the Roman Catholic Church being founded by Emperor Constantine.
Amazing. So do you believe there's good and evil?
Yes.
Okay. You took at one time you worked for the president as his White House Director of Communication for about 7 days or so. Why did you take that job?
All right. Well, Jess, it was 11 days. Don't ship me out of the last. I mean, those are like meaningful to me,
I'm telling you. Yeah, 11 days. Sorry.
Why did I take that job? I think it's interesting for your listeners to hear why I took that job. This is a cautionary tale on ego. I think when you get your ego involved in things, you start to have misjudgment. Because remember, ego comes from self-centeredness and centrism. So egocentrism. And so, I grew up in a blue collar family. I built two very successful or reasonably successful businesses. And I had worked for the president as a political fundraiser and as a media advocate on his behalf in 2016. So when he took the job, he's an unorthodox guy, as we both know.
Yeah.
He offered me that job. But one of the principal reasons why I got the job, it was July of 2017. There was a tremendous amount of leaking going on in the White House. And in fairness to the president, that wasn't fair to him. He's trying to get the administration on good foundation, a good, grounding, if you will. And so he brought me in and asked me to help him remove some people that were leaking on him. Of course, I made a very famous mistake. I trusted somebody that I grew up with, and I said something off color, which was regrettable. And again, it was a fireable mistake. And so I got fired by General Kelly 11 days after I started. Having said that, I never blamed anybody for it other than myself.
Right.
You asked me why I took the job. That was born from egocentrism. That was born from, had I had thought about it more rationally and less emotionally, I probably wouldn't have taken that job. It wasn't suited for my skill set, but the intoxication and the seduction of working in the White House made me override those rational thoughts.
So at the time that you took the job, you didn't support what the president was about. You didn't believe in conservatism and what the president was about.
No. That's not. You're asking me about why did I take that job?
And so,
I don't think I was well suited to be the communications director. You see
right, but did you believe in and support what the president was about?
I'm a lifelong conservative, and by and large, I was supporting what the president was about. But there's a lot of things about him that are not Christian, and there's a lot of things about him that are not conservative. And I think as you look at the scales of that now, his personality and what he is doing is a subversion of a lot of those things. So no, I no longer support him, but I'm still a conservative, and I'm still a conservative Republican.
But at the time, you believed in what the president was about and what he was promoting, right?
I did. Yes, I did.
Okay. And so you worked for the president, and you are, am I right in believing that you are a conservative Republican?
I am.
Mm-hmm. And what does that mean to be a conservative Republican?
Well, I mean, you were talking about the teachings of the church. I'm more of a libertarian because I do believe in the separation of church and state, which is a foundational principle in the Constitution and is in the First Amendment for a reason. So I try to separate my religious beliefs from the government because I think we have to allow people in our country to have religious freedom and to express their religions in many different forms. There's obviously three very large religions, institutional religions, and there are others. And I think this has been a place, this 244-year experiment has been a place to allow for that individuality and freedom. And so I think that's a bedrock of conservatism. If you read Edmund Burke or J.S. Mill or John Locke, the philosophers of the Enlightenment, to really distill what conservatism is to me, it is about the expression of individual liberty. And if you want to tie it back to Jerusalem, because I do think it is threaded from the foundation stone, which is now the Dome of the Rock, and it threads through Athens, up into Rome, out to Great Britain and France, and into the United States. What is that conservatism? It is the Western liberal idea, not liberal from a political context, but liberal in terms of freedom. It is the Western liberal idea of the individual being sacred and the individual being created equal in the eyes of God. And so that, to me, is the bedrock of conservatism.
General Kelly at the time, he was the White House Chief of Staff at the time. He is now proven to be a rhino Republican. Are you surprised by that?
I don't see him as a rhino Republican.
You don't? Why not?
Well, because he has spent 40 years of his life in the U.S. Marines, and since he was retired, one of the things that flag officers, particularly Marine flag officers, try to do is stay out of the politics. So I see him more as an independent than I see him as a Republican or a Democrat.
But he doesn't have any courage. He's not an honest man. He's not able to stand up. He is a writer. He seems to go along just to get along, and he doesn't seem to respect men. How do you feel about that?
All right. Well, I would disagree with that, and obviously he fired me, and so our relationship started out rocky. But I've got a close personal relationship with him today. 40 years in the U.S. Marine Corps. He's a 4-star general. He's also a Gold Star family member. He lost his son Robert in Iraq. Unfortunately, he stepped on a landmine and died instantly about 13 years ago. And I see General Kelly as an American patriot, and I see General Kelly as someone that believes in the U.S. Constitution and the foundational principles of the Constitution.
Well, he's still a writer, though. He's still pathetic. Let me ask, I know you're a male, but are you a man?
I don't know how you're defining that, my man. I don't know how you define it.
And how do you define man? What is a man?
How do I define a man?
Yes.
Well, I mean, listen. I mean, if you're saying to me, do I believe in the whole concept of androgyny and the spectrum?
No, I'm just asking you, Anthony. What is a man?
I probably haven't thought about it as much as you have, but
why not?
To me, there's a lot of different components to being a man. I think the stuff I take the most pride in is being a dad and being a provider to my family, and also having a backbone and being somebody that people can rely on, you know?
So a man is someone that provide, being someone that people can rely on. Am I right?
Yeah.
Should you be able to trust a man? Is a man trustworthy?
Well, I don't think it's just men. I think women should be.
But I'm asking about a man. Is a man trustworthy?
Sure. Where are you going, my brother?
I'm getting there. Just ride with me. I'm getting to know you, and so I'm asking because I don't want to assume anything. I never assume. So is a man trustworthy?
You do assume a little, because you were coming at me pretty hard on Twitter. So you do assume a little. You know, you're, and I get it, because you got a following and you've got a certain philosophy and certain principles. But I think that the reason why I wanted to come on your show is that what we have to do is we have to break down the stereotypes that we have of each other, and certainly what we see of each other on social media, what we may see of each other on television or even radio. And I think as we get to know each other better, what happens is you get a mutuality of respect, and you get a mutuality of potential cooperation long term.
Right. You're absolutely right. Is a man trustworthy?
Should be, yes. Absolutely.
Would a man ever turn on a friend? Let's say that you work for me, you and I agreed, but something went wrong. We disagreed on something, and you left. Would you ever turn on me?
Well, I believe in reciprocity. You know, I don't believe in asymmetrical relationships. I believe that relationships have to be symmetrical. So would I turn on you? No. But if you turned on me, okay, you would definitely lose my support. You would definitely, there's no asymmetry to loyalty. There's no asymmetry to friendship. It needs to be symmetrical.
Are you a man that can be trusted?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And so now you're supporting the Democratic Party by supporting Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a far left liberal radical. He doesn't know if it's night or day, it appears.
Right.
And he's supporting abortion. He support abortion. He support homosexuality, same-sex marriage, and all that. Let me just finish. Go ahead. And you are now supporting that by supporting Joe Biden. Are you and it appears that you have turned on President Trump. You turned on the Great White Hope, right? And you turned on conservatism. Could you be trusted now?
Well, certainly I could be trusted, yeah, because I didn't turn on anything, actually. What I'm more concerned about is the country and the institutions of our democracy, and I'm more concerned about the 244-year experiment that is America and the threat that President Trump represents to that democracy. And so that supersedes political philosophy. That's more of a systemic issue. But Trump turned on me first. I didn't turn on him.
And that's why you turned on him, because you believe he turned on you?
No. You're not allowed to attack my family members from the presidential Twitter feed. So what happened was Mr. Trump went after the squad, 3 African-American women and one Hispanic woman.
Those women are evil.
But they have a right to be in the country. They're born in the country.
The president has a right to say what he wants to say about them. And if those women,
listen,
he didn't turn on them by being honest about them.
No. You see, now we're getting, it's your show. So if you want to talk over me, you can. But if you want to hear my point of view, I'll share it with you. It's up to you.
I want to know, as a man who is a Catholic and married with children, can you be trusted now that you have gotten on board with Joe Biden and the Democrats? Can you be trusted?
Absolutely. Can the president be trusted? He's told 22,000 lies since he got the office. Can the president be trusted? He's taking mail sorting machines out of the U.S. Post Office to try to contrive the election. Can the president be trusted?
How many lies have you told since turning on the president?
How many lies have I told?
Yes.
I'm not telling any lies, bro.
How many lies have Joe Biden told?
Look at my face, my man. I'm 56 years old. I don't need to tell any lies.
How many lies have Joe Biden told since running for president?
Well, less than Trump.
How many has he told?
I have no idea. He's a politician.
So why is it that you know how many the Great White Hope have told, but you don't know how many Joe Biden have told?
He's not the Great White Hope, my man. He's a very dangerous guy.
No, but I'm asking you, you know how many, quote unquote, how many the president have told.
It's not the Great White Hope. You don't go after the institutions of the country. He swore an oath. You want to talk about a disavowal?
I know, but you didn't answer my question. Why is it that you don't know how many lies Joe Biden have told, but you know how many lies the Great White Hope have told? Why don't you know how many lies Joe Biden told?
Well, I'm probably paying closer attention to President Trump.
But you should pay closer attention to Joe Biden since you're supporting him now.
You're missing something that I think is very, very important in the conversation. The first test as a patriot is, do you believe in the constitutional system and the diffusion of power and the separation of powers that have made us all free, that have allowed me to live the American dream the same way you have? Do you believe in that, yes or no? If you believe in that, then you can't impart your religious views on others. Your religious views are your views and the views of your family. If you don't believe in that, then that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion under the process of freedom of speech.
My concern is greater than that, Anthony. My concern is greater than that, because what I've noticed is that people such as yourself, they pretend to be conservative Republicans, and when things don't go their way, they jump ship, they become rhinos, and they support the Democrats. We need a government that works for the people and not against them. And I can understand that maybe you disagree.
We got to get rid of President Trump.
I can understand that maybe you disagree with the president, but I don't understand what type of person would go out and support. Hold on a minute. I don't understand what type of person would go. Hold on 1 minute. Hold on, Anthony. I can't trust a man that would. I understand you disagree with the president. You got fired, you disagree. But you went from pretending to be a Republican to so totally supporting a far-left liberal radical party like the Democratic Party. It says a lot about your character, and I don't know how you hold your head up knowing that we can see both sides of you now? How do you live with yourself like that?
I live with myself just fine. How do you live with yourself supporting that guy, man? That's a dangerous guy. He's destroyed your economy.
But you pretended to support him at one time. Were you pretending?
No. My support, as your support should be as a citizen and a voter, should be conditional upon performance. He doesn't have unconditional support from me. He's not my family member. He's not my wife. He's not my brother. He was hired to do a job. Keep America safe, make America richer, spread out the wealth in America, strengthen our alliances around the world. He's made America weaker. He's made America sicker. He's made America poorer. He's classically
But you're going after you're not just going after the president. You're trying to help support destroying the whole country.
He bullies his private citizens from the presidential Twitter feed.
Anthony, because of time, those are talking points. Because of time, those are talking points. I want to ask you.
Those are not talking points.
Those are talking points. Joe Biden blamed the president for all the terrorist attack upon America by the far left liberal radical.
1,000% his fault.
Let me.
1,000% the president's fault.
Hold on. Hey, Anthony.
Managerial skills.
I haven't asked a question yet.
Destroyed the economy.
Anthony, I haven't asked a question.
No, but it's the president's fault.
Far left liberal radical Black Lives Matter is a radical organization that was founded by fat black radical lesbians and Antifa radical white people. Joe Biden and the Democrats are allowing these things to happen in the city. They're doing nothing to stop the violence. And they blame it on President Trump. Do you agree with that?
I do disagree with that, yes.
You disagree with Joe Biden?
No, I disagree with what you're saying.
What am I saying that you disagree with?
Well, the Black Lives Matter movement is not as radicalized as you're professing. Joe Biden is not as radicalized as you're professing. And the racial tension in the country has been exacerbated by President Trump, not made better. And the fact that he mishandled the economy, blew up the economy. And during the Obama administration, you had 4.7% unemployment when Obama left, and you've got 10.2% unemployment. And you talk about conservatism.
You're not an honest man. That's why I call you a beta. I call you a beta male because you're right on now, and I'm disappointed.
All right. Well, let me tell you. So I appreciate you bringing me on. And what happens in our society today is because we're not going to stipulate what the facts are. We're going to argue about the facts. So therefore, you can't even have a fair and honest debate.
But you're blaming the far left liberal radical.
I'll tell you why I respect you, though. Because you were coming after me on Twitter, which is your right to do. I'm a public figure. And I messaged you to ask you to have me on your show. And you accepted that. So I respect you for that. We're going to disagree. And here's what we should do. Let's make a deal together, okay?
All right.
Why don't we do this again after the election?
That'll be fine. Yeah, absolutely. Do you agree with me that one of the best things that the Democrats have done to assure that President Trump is reelected is allowing the violence in their cities and states that they control, that they are causing more people to vote for President Trump than probably would have voted for him before?
Okay, so you're believe it or not, you and I are going to actually agree on that. I think that the way they're handling the riots, which to me, they do seem organized and they seem somewhat planned, which should scare everybody. But the way the riots are being handled and the way the left, whether it's Bill de Blasio or others, have handled these great cities has been a systemic failure. So you and I are going to agree on that, actually. We agree on that.
Do Black Lives Matter?
Do Black Lives Matter? Of course, Black Lives Matter.
And what does that mean, Black Lives Matter?
Well, I don't know what it means to the organization known as Black Lives Matter, but I know what it means to me.
What's that?
What does it mean? That there's a sacredness to life, and that if we have racial tension that's dividing America, and that whether it's fact-based or feelings-based, it really doesn't matter. If you've got a large group of people, particularly in the African American community or the Black community, that feel threatened by police officers in a different way than white people feel threatened by police officers, we have to address it. We have to heal that, and we have to make it better.
If
so
Black people,
blue lives matter to me, Black lives matter to me, white lives matter to me.
Do all lives matter?
All lives matter to me, absolutely.
So let me ask.
Is sacred on our planet, but if you're asking me, do we have racial tension in our country? Yes, we do. I grew up in an area where there were blacks and whites. We had a lot of racial tension. Should we have had it? No. Am I older and more mature now? Absolutely. Would I like to see it better for all people? I would. Would I like you and me to be judged by the content of our character and not the color of our skin? Absolutely.
So let me ask, if Black people were to get married, fathers and mothers set a good examples for their children, would Black people be better off or worse off?
I don't know the individual. If you're saying, is it better for children to be in nuclear families versus not nuclear families? In some cases, I believe that that's the case. In some other cases, if a woman is married to somebody violent.
No, but I'm going to ask you a simple question. If Black people got married and fathers and mothers set a good example for the children, raised them, be a good example, taught them to work, be responsible, to treat all people the way they would like to be treated, would Black people be better off today or worse off?
Yeah. Again, I think you're making an overly generalized statement.
No, I just would like a yes or no to the question.
Generalized answer would be yes.
So why aren't you people pushing that rather than all of this fake ideal about racism, police brutality, slaverism, and all that? Why aren't you pushing, hey, you Black people, you need to go back to family? Because when I grew up on a plantation, as you know, I guess, I grew up under the Jim Crow laws. And I was born on a plantation. We worked the plantation. I remember for blacks only signs and all that. But because Black people got married, they were taught, they worked hard, they bought land, they treated all people the way they would like to be treated. They didn't blame other people. They didn't blame the white folks and all that. Black people were doing very well. It didn't change until the fake civil rights movement started, which should have never happened. That's when blacks gave their lives over to the so-called black leader and the government. And it's just been downhill since then. Why aren't you people promoting family rather than all this other false excuses?
Don't overgeneralize, Jesse. You can't say you people because it's not me.
I don't hear you promoting family for the black people.
Well, it's not just for the black people. I promote family for all people.
But I don't ever hear you promoting for the black. You're blaming President Trump for something he has nothing. Black people have been tripping for 70 years now, and you're saying
President Trump puts out a tweet that he wants to knock out lower income housing.
I do too.
Suburbs. I'm sorry?
Would you rather for black people to live in low-income houses or work hard, buy their own home, and live like normal people? What would you prefer?
Well, I would like everybody to live in.
How about the blacks?
Housing.
How about the blacks?
But again, it's all people. But what you're missing.
How about the blacks, though? I'm asking about the blacks.
My family didn't start with any money.
I know that.
We didn't start with any money. So,
the blacks can do the same.
But I got buddies of mine that were in lower income housing in the neighborhood I grew up in that went on to live the American dream.
So why don't you recommend that to Black Lives Matter rather than this fake idea about racism and police brutality? It's not real. Do you agree with me that
there's no fear for African American young men when they are interacting with the police?
Absolutely no.
Okay.
Absolutely no.
Right. Well,
are you surprised that Joe Biden? Are you surprised? It's a lie. Black people are not afraid of cops. They're lying to you. And if you notice, Anthony, the people who are getting hurt or affected by cops, which is minor, they are overreacting. They are not following the instructions of the officer, and they're all thugs and criminals. Decent black people are not being affected by cops. Have you noticed that?
Well, Doc Rivers, whose father was a cop, says that he has to have a conversation with his children related to the potentiality of them being stopped by police officers.
But you're not answering my question. I asked, have you noticed that decent black people?
Answer because, Jesse, I don't know the answer to your question, okay? I'm telling you, my observation is some of what you're saying is true, and some of what you're saying is not true because...
What have I said that's not true?
Well, you said that good people or,
decent blacks,
are not affected by the interaction with police.
That's why the decent black want cops in the community. It's the thugs.
Okay, but Doc Rivers is an example of that. He gave a speech last week.
What do you say about the thugs who hate cops, but the decent black people, Black Lives Matter, the radical far left, fat black lesbians, they want to defund cops, right? But decent black people want cops in the community. Right. So if decent black people want cops, who do you support? The decent blacks or the far left liberal radical like Black Lives Matter?
I support decency around the board. It doesn't matter.
So do you want to defund the cops?
Do I want to know? Joe Biden doesn't want to defund the cops. Well,
why hasn't he denounced that?
Of course he has.
When?
He said it again. It's in the platform of the Democratic Party.
No.
Clyburn said it. Joe Biden said it. None of these guys wanted to defund the cops.
Let me ask you this. The Democratic Party voted.
Fracking? Trump says that Biden's against fracking. Joe Biden's out there yesterday saying he's for fracking.
Anthony, the Democratic Party, that guy, Doc Rivers, I kind of remember who he is. He's a weak guy. He's evil. I wouldn't follow him. Don't listen to him, Anthony. He's a beta male. But let me ask you.
Don't be demonizing people, my man.
No, he's a beta male. Let me ask.
Don't be demonizing people.
No, I'm calling it out as it is. He's evil.
No, you do a little bit of demonization there. Don't do that.
No, he's evil. That's the guy that cried on the camera, right?
We're all human beings. Don't be demonizing.
Isn't he the guy that from the NBA that cried on camera?
Yeah, you cannot.
He's a beta male.
All right, man.
But let me ask you.
I see where you're going with all this. Do me a favor, though, because I had an 11:30 meeting.
Yeah, I know.
So
let me ask you really fast. The last question.
I don't want to be rude to you, but the flip side is I want you to invite me back after the election.
And you will come back, right?
Will I come back? Yeah, 100%.
One last quick question. The Democratic Party voted in the last election to get rid of God as a platform, as a part of their platform with the Democratic Party. They voted that at their convention. Do you support that?
I don't support that, and what you said is not true.
It is true.
They said the Pledge of Allegiance all 4 nights under God. All 4 nights. There's actual videotape.
They want to get rid of under God in the Pledge of Allegiance. Do you support that?
They said the Pledge of Allegiance.
Anthony, you're not an honest man.
All 4 nights.
Your wife don't like honest men, dishonest men.
Yeah, I'm not being dishonest, though. All of that's factual. So you got to be careful when you follow Trump because he's telling so many lies and he says them so many times over and over again, you can start to believe
I can't trust you. You turn on a friend. Even if you don't disagree, if you disagree with him, I wouldn't go out. I wouldn't go out and put.
Hey, Jess. You don't go after my family members on the presidential Twitter feed.
But I wouldn't go out and put down the man that gave me a job either.
Before I go, Jesse, do I look like Ted Cruz to you?
No, that's for sure, no.
You don't go after my family members on the presidential Twitter feed without having a fight with me.
But you turned on your boss.
I didn't turn on him. He turned on me.
A real man would not go out and turn. He would have appreciation for the job, but he wouldn't turn on.
Never go after my wife on the presidential Twitter feed, man.
Prediction. Now, will the president will the Great White Hope be reelected or no?
He's going to get annihilated.
No, he's going to be reelected. I'm going to have you back.
You're going to invite me back after he loses so badly, and then we'll have the aftermath conversation of why he lost so badly.
We'll have you back. Thank you so much, Anthony, for coming on.
Jesse, good to be here. I appreciate you bringing me on, though. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, buddy.
Well.
Okay. Bye. 888-775-3773. That was Anthony Scaramucci, financier, political consultant, and former White House Director of Communication. This is why I can't I'm not for rhino Republicans. They're not honest. Rhinos are not honest. They're no different than the Democrats. That's why they so easily support the Democrats. Their hearts have not been renewed. Amazing. And don't forget to like, follow, tweet, subscribe, and share the Jesse Lee Peterson radio show, folks. We really appreciate it. We are at war. It is a spiritual battle for the soul of America. And it's going to take all of us to do it.